right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for some additional media availabilities here this afternoon at Bristol Motor Speedway. And we've now been joined by a driver of the number 37 Busch's Grill and Beans Chevrolet, Chris Buescher, and team owner Tad Geschickter. And Tad, I will officially turn the microphone over to you for some news this afternoon.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here at Bristol. It's the home market for one of our longest-running sponsors, Busch's Beans, and Kenna and TC are here if anyone has any questions for them. 15 years sponsoring our team. It's a home to a lot of Kroger stores that have the great clickless service, and it's where Jody's in the back there, enjoyed our first NASCAR win way back in 1996. So it's a special place to us, and we have a special announcement. We've been able to work through contractual stuff and get Chris signed up for multi-years to continue to drive for us at JTG Daugherty Racing. And we couldn't be more happy about that. As I think about Chris, there are three things that led to the decision. It's trust, it's the talent, and it's his tenacity. So if you look at the person he is, he's humble, he's kind. But I think the word that gets used by our sponsors the most and by the fans and all of you who meet him is he's sincere. I think that's a great quality for us and for the sponsors that are on our car. If you look at him at 24, and I remember 24 long ago, how far he's come just through determination and hard work. He's got an ARCA championship. He's got an Xfinity championship. And just in his short time with us, he's become a top fixture in the top 20 in the running order. And he just keeps getting better every week. We're just still learning. And probably last but not least is tenacity. This guy is in the shop more than any other driver we've ever worked with. He stays in the hauler. He looks at his throttle traces, his dark fish. He's always talking with his team about how he can make his car as competitive as possible each week, and he's just a great leader. So I'm excited that we're going to work together for a long time to come, and I'm excited to see where we can take the 37 together.
Yeah, absolutely. So really excited to be able to get everything worked out, to be able to drive for JTG Daugherty Racing for the next handful of years. So we've been able to make a lot of progress this season, and everyone knows how hard it is to fire off at the beginning of the year with everything being completely new, and not only just new to me, but adding a second team is a pretty major undertaking. So to be able to get everything in place as smoothly as we've been able to, and be able to get the results that we have this soon in the season, I think has been a really great thing. And for me, that continuity at the end of the season is excellent. It's something that I haven't had for a little bit, and to be able to build off of something that you worked an entire year trying to get up and get ready to go. That's nice to be able to carry over that into 2018 and seasons beyond. So really looking forward to next season. Really neat to be driving the new Chevy Camaro ZL1. Looks like a pretty excellent body that it came out with, and cool to see Camaro back in NASCAR at the Cup Series. So lots of good things coming. We're really happy that we could make this announcement and get everything worked out, and I've had a blast over here with everybody. So Tad and Jody, thank you, and Gordon and Brad, who I've only gotten to talk to a handful of times at this point, but just want to say thank you to all of them for allowing me the opportunity to be able to come out here and be competitive in these races. And couldn't think of a better place than Bristol to make the announcement. My favorite track, right there with Darlington. It's kind of a toss up, but seemed to get a little bit more speed out of this place. Practice just went really good for our Busch's Grill and Beans Chevrolet. So really excited about qualifying this evening, and looking forward to the race tomorrow night.
We'll go ahead and take questions for Tad or Chris. If you have one, please raise your hand, say your name and affiliation. I'll do my best to get everyone in. Let's start over here with Lee, and then Tad, if you want to pull up that microphone right there. Thank you.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Come on, Jody had the most to do with this. We know that. But anyway, what are you going to do about charters for next season? Because I believe you all had a charter from Roush, and it's a one-year lease. Have you figured out what your charter plans are for 2018? Thank you.
Yes, we have an owner's agreement to purchase a charter, and that paperwork's going to be submitted to NASCAR this week, and hopefully it gets all signed and approved. So more to come on that, but we've got a plan on that, and it's well down the road.
All right. I believe Bob here had a question up front.
Bob Parker, ESPN. Ted, are you going to continue your relationship with RCR?
We still have several years left on our agreement with RCR, and we want to continue to get better together with them, and we continue to work hard every day to do that. Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Ted, can you talk about the difficulties of the financial picture that team owners are having to deal with now, and how out of whack is maybe revenue and cost, or is it that far out of whack?
That's a great question. In 2008, we were working together with the Wood Brothers, and we had 5 teams and 240 employees. And, in that economic downturn, we went through the pain of having to find jobs for a lot of different people and downsizing. So, Mark, I think we've been really choiceful in how we've grown from there. I don't want to over-egg the omelet or grow too fast. So I think in our case, we've always played money ball and tried to play within our means and pick the right places to spend the money. So I think that the economic picture for our team has just gotten better. It may be that the rest of the field who was at bigger numbers is coming back to us, but I think the competitive balance is going to come back to us, and we feel good about where we are on sponsorship.
How do you feel overall about the cost-income ratio that's going on in club right now?
I think that, they continue to look at ways to cut the costs. Cutting back some tires this year certainly was a help to us. But I will say that what we spend today versus what we spent 10 years ago, it's crazy to look at it. We keep working along, and before you know it, we've got the sponsorship to do it. But certainly I think NASCAR's serious about it, and the Team Owner Council is serious about continuing to find ways to cut back on that any way we can as quickly as we can.
All right, go ahead.
David Swope of the ESPN Radio Albuquerque. Over here, Chris. Chris, question for you. Sixth in the final practice there. What in your driving style lends you to such success at this track?
I wish I knew, because I'd take it to a lot of other tracks. But this is a place that I've always just loved. I've loved watching races here as a kid. We got to run a Legends car race here one time on the apron. We actually used pit road and then the aprons in the corners. And I remember thinking how cool it was just to be able to race at Bristol that day. And then, as we've looked at the Xfinity Series, I never did any truck racing, but the Xfinity Series and then even Cup, we've had some extremely good runs here. Still a haunting finish for me, running out of gas leading this thing a few years ago on the Xfinity side. It's I wish I could tell you. It's something that kind of brings me back to a Salem or a Winchester, where we ran so many races in ARCA. Right up against the fence, which I know that's obviously evolving here constantly, but trying to run that top side, it's a lot of throttle time. It's just it's crazy. It's amazing how quick paced it is, and how quickly a lap goes by and how much goes on. I wish I could tell you. I love it. I really do. I love coming to Bristol. I think that helps a lot. It's about the same as road races. I don't have a road racing background, but we seem to run pretty good at them because it's something that these guys have worked really hard with with AJ and been able to bounce a lot of things off of him to improve that this season. But also I enjoy doing it, and I think it helps. Turning right? I hope not. With the traction compound on the bottom, I think last fall was the first time it was done correct, and I thought that was really good. I think that it gave us a track that was not just top dependent. It gave us a passing lane. Not really a bottom dependent track, but a place where we could move around to get around lap cars, or if you were really better than somebody in front of you, you could set them up, try and pin them behind a slower car up on the top and be able to use the bottom. And I think it's evolved from there. I think it was really wide at the spring race here earlier this season, and I think where it's at now is much closer to where it was in the fall, and I certainly like it better. I think from the driver's standpoint, most have been on board with it. I think we like the idea of it. I think it's gave us a passing lane, and practice is going to be bottom feeder racetrack just because of how new the compound is and how it takes rubber. But it does wear off, and we saw it there late in practice. We're able to start using that top now and run lap times that are within a tenth or two versus half a second or 3/4 of a second that it was in the first practice.
All right, we have a question from Kelly, Woody, and then Reed. So we'll go to Kelly. There you go. Thank you.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. For Tad, one for Chris. Tad, is the goal to keep Chris, Trent, and that whole team together going into next year? Will anything change there?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we were able to sign Trent's extension concurrent with Chris's this week as well. So they've really come together nicely. So we're excited to see where they take it together.
And Chris, you've gone from Roush and Xfinity to Front Row, now to JTD. To hear that you now have a multi-year deal, it's got to feel good to have some stability for a little bit going forward.
Yeah, you could you can definitely say that. The fact that we're sitting here today to say that we have many years going forward and know we're going to be. We got Trent leading the team. That's pretty amazing. It's nice to have that comfort through the off season, something that has been hard to have, and especially with the way the world is today and how hard it is to get that feeling here. I'm very, very thankful for this opportunity. I've had a really good time this season. We've been able to make some awesome improvements, and again, coming back to that continuity from one season to the next. I haven't had that since way back in the Xfinity days. So knowing that we have the same group and we have notes and we have race cars that we've run, that's going to be a really big help, and I look for that to be a big step in getting better results early in 2018.
All right, we're going to go to Woody, then Reed, then Claire. Go ahead, Woody.
Woody came with MRN. Chris, a lot of guys look for a way to find another race when you get an off weekend. Are you a guy who has that itch, or are you a kind of protect my time and get away from it all for a little while?
He's getting married in April. That's going away.
I am getting married, and I'm very much looking forward to that. For our off weekends, we kind of get away for right now. I have told Tad that I very, very much want to run Eldora in the truck next season, and if he could put a truck together, that would save me a lot of hassle, but I don't think he's gone for it yet. So I will be looking to try and do, with Tad and Jody's blessing, obviously, trying to do a little bit of extracurricular racing next season as things settle down a little bit. I think that's prevented me from doing a lot of that over the last couple seasons. It's just so many variables, so many unknowns. Just trying to make sure that we're in the right place and we're not trying to step on anyone's toes. So now looking forward, I feel like I can lean on Tad a little bit and try and go look at some races on the outside of just the Cup Series.
All right, Reed, go ahead.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Chris, with this being a multi-year deal, are you out of the Roush contract now, or is that still in force?
Yeah, so this is a multi-year deal for us to be able to go racing for JTG exclusively. Again, that's a pretty excellent feeling to know that we have something in place going forward to be able to come back each and every season and start from where we left off. For us to be able to say that we have a home, and as long as Tad will have me, we'll be driving here.
All right, Claire, go ahead.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. So does that mean you're not aligned with Roush, that your new alignment now is strictly with this team?
Yeah, so for these years coming up, yes. Okay. This is where we're going to be. This is home. This is a way for us to gain that continuity. And, I've really appreciate everything on the Roush Fenway side and what they've done for me through the years. And I've had a lot of fun racing over there. For simplicity's sake and going forward, while everything goes through, this time where everything restructures and gets back in line, this is our way to be able to say that we know what we're doing each and every year.
I've always felt that you are a really good race car driver who's flown under the radar just a bit. Do you feel like this gives you a platform now, and that you didn't mind sort of starting out there and being kind of under the radar?
Yeah, and I never did coming up. I mean, that was always okay with me, but I've really appreciated the years that I've had to learn without a microscope. We've been able to make mistakes and learn from them and be better each and every time we come to the racetrack. So for me, I think that this season has been one where we've steadily improved, and over the last handful of weeks, we've had some really good runs. Really, since Martinsville, we've had some really good runs on and off. So, for us, that's excellent to be able to get our partners in the limelight and be able to work forward and build the brand with them. I think it's been an excellent opportunity, and now with this, I think. We might even get the graphic when they display every car number across the top of the screen. Ours will actually have one because it's the same one it was the last couple of weeks. So, just little things like that. It's nice to know that it's going to be smoothed out and going forward.
All right, Chris. Before we let you leave, when we were here in April, we had some rain showers, and you jumped out and helped several of the fans here in different situations when the water was rising on the pond. Have you happened to reconnect with any of those that you helped pull out of those waters in April?
I need to I need to get back on social media because I did have one of the gentlemen that him and his wife were camping, and they did get a hold of me after that race, and they said they go to quite a few races, so that was really neat, and I had a good time doing that. I hated to see. Unfortunate circumstances, and really glad that we won't have to deal with that this weekend. For the record, it was Tad and Jody's truck that was in the mud, so I didn't tell him that until after. I think he knows that, but I got it cleaned up, so it's all good now. But yeah, it was. We're going to play in the mud all next week anyway on our off weekend, so might as well try and help out and have some fun while we're doing it.
All right. Well, congratulations, guys, on the news. Best of luck this weekend here at Bristol.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. We're going to continue with our media availabilities this afternoon here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and we have now been joined by Jamie McMurray, driver of the number 1 McDonald Chevrolet. And Jamie, in recent weeks, you've been sharing a little bit more about your training journey and some of the things you've been doing with cycling and running, and I know you
How do you know about that?
Well, you tweet about it.
I tweet, okay.
And then also with the Runner's World article that I think came out this week, you shared a little bit in there about training for a marathon in December. How does that training potentially help you, in the Bristol night race tomorrow night, knowing that, it's a longer race and here at the fastest half mile?
It's pretty. Let me give you a deep answer here of how my training's going to help tomorrow night. I don't know that there's any direct correlation with whether you're cycling or running to being in the car. There's certainly a great benefit from the cardio side of riding a bike or running, and Bristol is one of those tracks that you're reminded of every time we come back here at how you tend to hold your breath for numerous laps. It takes a little while to get relaxed enough around this place, especially running the top. Running the bottom is not near as bad as trying to get around the top of this place. So, yeah, I think I don't know that it correlates exactly, but certainly is nice to be in good cardio shape right now.
All right, and then also you've had several wins, obviously throughout your career. But where would a Bristol win, specifically the night race, rank among those?
Well, I have said since I think 2010, after winning Daytona and Indy in the same year, that the Bristol night race, if I could pick one race to win, that this would be the race. So, it ranks really high on my list of places to be able to win. To go to Victory Lane here, to hear the response of the people in the stands. There's typically something else happening at the end of these races besides the winner. So to hear the reaction from all the crowd, it would be huge.
All right. We'll open for questions for Jamie. If you have one, please raise your hand. State your name and affiliation. All right. Going once. Okay. We'll start from with Mike.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. Are you comfy or slightly uncomfy with your point situation?
Sorry, I'm vibrating. My son got his first set of stitches today, so I'm getting an update from my wife right now. We ran into somebody at PE. We're 6 and we're a boy. That's what happened. He's pretty ornery, but I guess he ran into somebody during gym or something at school. It's on his, I think, third day of school right now, and cut his eye, so he had to go get some stitches. So as a parent, you're a little bit concerned, but I with FaceTime, I FaceTimed him earlier and informed him that I have had numerous stitches on my face, so it's just part of being a boy. Am I comfy? No, I'm not. I think until you can be locked in, you just never know. I mean, another first-time winner changes it quite a bit. What I would say this year versus probably the last 2 years, though, kind of being in the same position, is that we're running better at every track now than we did the last 2 years. And the last month have been really good. Indy and Pocono, we had great cars, and had some type of a cooler failure at Pocono, and got caught up in one of the accidents towards the end of the race at Indy, and had a great car last week. Should have finished third or fourth. That last caution came out, and because of the guys that hadn't pitted yet, it put us. I think we ended up finishing ninth. But we've had really good cars. We have another good car this weekend. So I feel probably more comfortable than I did the last couple of years. But I don't know, there's been so many kind of unique winners this year that, if you'd have told me in Daytona you could be 8th in points at Bristol, I would say you're locked in. There's just been a lot of unique winners this year, though.
All right. Lee, go ahead.
LeeSpencerMotorsport.com. Can you talk about getting into the PJ1 or whatever they're calling it these days? And, some spotters were saying it was wearing off. Do you think it needs to be reapplied? Can you just kind of take us through the motions as far as what the feeling is like and what the benefits are as a driver?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on whatever we call that, the sicky stuff, I don't really care. If they want to put it across the whole track, I don't care. If they want to put it 2 foot on the very bottom, I don't care. The track eventually is going to be around the top if we don't get any rain. The one thing that has hindered us the last 2 races here, with the top not coming in quick enough, is all the rain we've had. I think we've actually run the race on a different day, both last fall and in the spring. Once the top though gets rubbered in, that will be the fastest groove. But it doesn't really matter to me. It's kind of fun to qualify around the top if that wasn't on the bottom, but the fact that it's down there, we're going to qualify on the bottom. I think it might help the restarts a little bit for the cars on the inside. But every racetrack we go to, whether it's Martinsville or Michigan last week, Martinsville, you have to be on the bottom on a restart, and at Michigan last week, you had to be on the outside. It just doesn't really matter to me. I don't. I feel like we've messed with it quite a bit, and I really don't care. They can do whatever they would like, and you go race, and it's the same for everybody.
All right, Bob. Bob had a question up front.
Don't bring the room down here, okay? What? Don't bring the room down here. Positive questions.
I won't run the bus over you this time.
Yeah, don't run over me twice here.
Okay. So eventually, will the groove be up on the top tomorrow night? Is that what you're expecting?
If it doesn't rain, I think the groove will be on the top on lap 15 of the Xfinity race once the tires start to wear out. It looked like, to me, from the time our practice started to at the end, it got quite a bit lighter. And the grip started to go away, and the groove actually did move up, and it started to rubber in. It's just going to depend on how much rain we get. If we don't get any rain, yeah, I expect the Xfinity race to be around the top.
All right, Woody, go ahead.
Woody Kane with MRN. When a lot of guys get a weekend off, like Kyle, for example, he's itching to go try and find someplace else to race, and you guys are very different in that you seem to just want to get away from it all. What do you got going on this weekend, off weekend, and tell me a little bit about that difference between you guys in that regard.
Yeah, so my off weekend, I'm training for a marathon. I decided, a month or so ago that I wanted to try to do a marathon after cycling so much in the early part of the year. so Josh Wise has been helping our team out, and he's literally laid out like every day between now and the day of the marathon of what I need to do. And the fact that we're off next week, I'll probably do quite a bit of running, a little bit of cycling, and just kind of hang out with my family. Our little boy started school, and now he's got stitches. So we're only on our first week of school, so I think just kind of staying at home and getting them acclimated to what time you get up and what time you go to bed in school year versus summertime. It's different. So I expect just to have a kind of a normal week at home, and I look forward to that.
All right, I believe you had a question, a few on the back there. Go ahead, Mark.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Jamie, when you look at the stats, they're better across the board than a year ago. It's obvious you guys as a team are running stronger. Is the frustration level up for you? You had the runner-up at Talladega that the car's running well enough to get to victory lane, but you just haven't quite gotten there yet.
Yeah, I mean, we've run really well at every type racetrack this year. The plate tracks, the road courses, the intermediates have been really good. We just haven't been in the position to win. We haven't been there right at the end of the race. I mean, honestly, we just have run from that like 4th to 8th, like every single race. I feel like throughout the whole race, you're maybe a little bit of strategy away from being able to win. I mean, I expect tomorrow night to be the same thing. If we can be out front with maybe the way the stages play out, or the pit cycle, we have a car fast enough to win. It's just getting in the right position. The stages have changed it a little bit. It's been kind of knowing when the cautions are going to fall. I feel like if you qualify well, and the fact that when the first 2 stages are going to be over with, or when the cautions are going to be there, it makes calling that race just a little bit easier. And I think that's why you've seen the 78 qualify well and kind of be able to dominate the stages, because they've had the fastest car, and the race is somewhat predictable for the teams in the first half. But our cars have been great. We just haven't been in the right position at the right time. Yep, lots of frustration with that, but it's the rules, right? I mean, I feel like they made that rule for me 5 years ago, so because I had won the 500 in the Brickyard and didn't make the chase, and now we've been really consistent. But I mean, that's the way it is, and there's nothing you can do about it. The way I view that, though, is that if we make the chase and you get locked in, we've outperformed over half the people that are going to be in it. So if we just keep doing the same thing, you should be able to advance through a few rounds. I wouldn't say easily, but we've run better than those people, the guys that have won a race and are kind of way down in points. So yeah, you make the chase. I think the first round is, I mean, if you don't have any unexpected issues, you should be able to advance to the second round, I think, fairly easy.
All right, I believe we have a question upstairs, and then we'll come back downstairs. Go ahead, upstairs.
Tucker White, Speedway Media. Is it on? Tucker White, SpeedwayMedia.com. Jamie, you kind of answered this with the last question, but seeing as you've matched your top 10 total from 2016 with this year, and you're on track to have your best finishing average of your career this season, how would you rate your season so far on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you sure?
I don't know. I'm not good at that. We've had a really good season. We've been good at every type racetrack, but there's still quite a bit left to do. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not good at rating things like that. I'll let you rate it.
All right, go ahead.
David Swope, ESPN Radio Albuquerque. Jamie, the team seems to be having both you and Larson seems to be having a lot of success. How much of that positive energy feeling back and forth between the two teams, and possibly sharing some insights or something that you have?
Well, I think when I look at the success of our team, it just starts with our engineering department, the teams working well together. Our cars, and it's, I feel like our sport is a little bit different than what it was 10 or 12 years ago, in that if one car runs well now, it seems like, or as an organization, if you have one car running well, it seems like that the rest of them run well. And if one's not, then none of them are. And a lot of that just comes down to, the team being able to set the car up, I feel like, through simulation and all of the aero work that's going on. When I first started in NASCAR, the crew chiefs just kind of hung bodies where they wanted to, and you would eyeball it, and no one's bodies were the same because everyone had a different philosophy of what they thought was better or what was right. And now everything is so structured. The cars are all built very similar, and we have a little bit of leeway with setups and stuff when we get to the track. But for the most part, if the organization has speed, then it seems like everyone within that has good speed.
All right. Brad, go ahead.
Jamie, Brad Gilley, PRN, Sirius XM. You've made the final round of qualifying 21 of 23 weeks. I think maybe a couple of those might have been rainouts, but still, have y'all made a concerted effort this year to be better on qualifying day? And what does that do for your weekend when you're starting a lot closer to the front?
Well, that's certainly helped us in the points because by qualifying so well, we've been able to get a lot of points in the first stage. But I believe that when you look at qualifying, those are the cars that are fast every week. And there's some guys that maybe haven't made the third round that are just crafty racers, or the team has done a good job through strategy and stuff of getting them up there. But qualifying is just that's the true test of how fast your car is and how good your team is. And we're really proud that we've been able to make it to that final round so many times. But again, we've kind of been stuck in that like 4th to 8th, like every week qualifying, right? We would like to get to that next step where we can be on the pole and contend to win more often.
All right, I believe we'll start Chris Knight, and then we'll end with Woody Kane. Go ahead, Chris.
Chris Knight, GetTrends.com. Jamie, just what's your take on stage racing? Do you like it after being able to experience it itself into the playoffs?
So I really like the stage racing. I didn't know what to expect when they announced that. It's really hard to accept change, I feel like, with anything. But as a fan, outside of the car watching the trucks or the Xfinity races, I kind of like knowing when that caution is going to come out. The fact that there'll be a restart. I mean, everybody, if you're a race fan, the restarts are awesome, right? And it also shakes up the strategy just a little bit. So I'm a huge fan of it. I also like it inside of the car. I kind of like the knowns of when the cautions are going to fall, and maybe the less random cautions because of having the stages and being able to bunch the cars back up. So yeah, I don't know how it'll impact the chase. I don't think it'll be any different than what we've seen already. But can't I almost think back to double file restarts and when I watch old races, how that would be the lap down cars on one side and the leaders on the outside, which just seems so weird now because you think, why wouldn't we have always had double file restarts? I think in a few years we'll look back and say, I can't believe we ever didn't have stages. Well, I think that when you're racing, when you're in the car and you're slowly catching somebody, it's almost like you get to have 3 races because if you know you're going to run, if you don't know when the caution is going to come out, you maybe don't push as hard to get by that person or try the top side with 2 laps to go and see if you can get around somebody because you have so much more time to work on it, right? But I think that the intensity factor ramps up in some cases inside the car when the stages are coming to an end, and so I think it's a lot more fun racing wise to have the stages. Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll take our final question from Woody. Go ahead.
Woody Kane with MRN. Along those same lines, Jamie, can you explain how you have to play that strategy for the stages at a short track like this, or even a Richmond coming up, versus a big track like you were just at Michigan or a super speedway?
Ask the question again.
How you have to play the stage strategy differently at a short track versus a big track.
So I don't know that it's as much at a short track or a big track. I think it's all about how much tire fall off you have. Darlington is the easiest race in the world to call because if you run 10 or 12 laps, depending on how many sets of tires you have, you pit because tires make such a difference. When we go to places like Michigan last week, it's a little bit different because there wasn't a lot of tire fall off. Or when you're places like Pocono or a road course where you don't get lapped when you pit, I think that's where it really gets shaken up versus it's somewhere like Bristol. I mean, if you pit here, you lose 2 laps. So everyone is not necessarily on the same strategy. And it might be a little bit unique here because when the top comes in, we don't have as much tire fall off. Guys are able to hang on the top side a little bit better. But I mean, it's different for every racetrack, and I think that's part of what makes it fun.
All right, Jamie, thank you for your time. Best of luck this weekend. All right. Good afternoon. We're going to wrap up with our final media availability here this afternoon. We've now been joined by Trevor Bayne, driver of the number 6 EcoBoost Ford. And Trevor, welcome home to Tennessee. I know you always enjoy coming back to Bristol. Talk a little bit about this weekend and really what it means to race so close to Knoxville.
Yeah, can you guys believe it's raining here? This never happens, but man, it's good to be home. I promise it doesn't always rain in Tennessee, but it does every time we come to town. So we're ready to go. Obviously, we'd like to have gotten some of those laps in practice that we didn't get for the delays, but we feel like we're getting our Ford a lot faster and making progress. We've had some really strong runs here the last 3 races at Bristol, and we feel like at this point in the season we've had some good runs. So coming off of our best finish of the season, we're looking to improve on that this weekend. We feel like this is probably one of our best shots to win a race, to get into the chase. Bristol presents a lot of opportunity for strategy. Our cars have been pretty fast here, so we've put a lot of effort into this one. If it's possible to put any more effort into a race, we've done that this weekend, and Jack has obviously voiced his opinion about going forward and making sure that we do everything we can to earn our spot. I'm excited to be here. Excited to have the Ford Performance Paint Scheme. We're honoring Tim Dewar this weekend, who's been at Ford for 40 years. You guys probably all know Tim. He walks around, and we give him a hard time as the drivers. He gives us Ford Performance golf balls a lot of the time. We give him a hard time about that because we spread them around the country pretty good. We're not very good at golf.
All right, we'll go ahead and take questions for Trevor. If you have one, please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation. Who wants to start us off? Quiet bunch.
No doubt. I scared everybody.
The rain must
already.
be getting the best of us. Okay, we're going to start with David over here.
David Swope, ESPN Radio Albuquerque. Trevor, with Toyota having a new body last year, and of course Chevy mentioning, any thoughts on whether we're going to have a Mustang anytime soon in Cup?
I mean, obviously bodies are something we're always working on. We want to stay current with the production vehicles, and we want to stay as close to the competition as we can on the racetrack. And I know that Ford is doing their best to make sure that we have everything we need on the racetrack. And they haven't given me a timeline or anything like that as to when we could expect a body. But obviously, when you see other manufacturers unveiling, it comes up in our driver meetings and Ford meetings and things like that. And it's a discussion. But we want to make sure we do it right and have a great-looking car on the racetrack, one that can perform. So I know Ford is definitely discussing body stuff with all the new releases.
All right, Woody, go ahead.
Woody came with MRN. Trevor, just curious about off-week plans for you. I know Ricky likes to go looking for a race wherever he can find one, but you with another young one now, you got a staycation in mind, or what's going on?
We should. Every time we go to or have an off weekend, we leave and go somewhere on vacation, and we're like, man, why did we leave? We should have just stayed home for a little while and enjoyed where we never get to be, which is home. But this time we're going to go on vacation again. My wife and I were talking yesterday, and we realized we haven't been on a vacation, just the two of us, since Ellie was born. So that's been almost 2 years now. So we're ready to go on vacation together. You know, race season just gets so hectic, and you know, our other off weekend is Easter, so we go home and spend time with our family. But we've got a little boy and a little girl, and our little boy doesn't sleep great, so we're just looking forward to like 3 nights of sleep, and that's probably all we'll do. But we're going to go and leave them with our parents and have a good time.
All right. Any additional questions for Trevor? Did I miss?
This is too easy, guys. Come on.
Come on.
No, I'm just joking. Don't make it hard on me.
No, all right. Here we go. Sometimes they just need a little encouragement.
That's right.
Camden Lazenby for rubbingsracing.com. Bristol's your home track. I mean, what would it mean for you to get a win or even a top 5 here? Just put that into words for us.
Top 5 would be awesome, but man, we need that win. So that's what we're pushing for. That's what we're hoping for. last weekend, it felt good to get a top 5, but we were third going into turn 3, and I could see the leaders, and I sailed it in there trying to go for it on the top, and it didn't stick. But third or fifth is no different to me. When you got a shot to win, you got to go for it. And same here. If we're in that situation and we can go for a win, I think you lay it all out there. And if you don't get a top 5 because you went for it, then you have to go for it. But Bristol is really special to me. As you guys know, it's where I started watching racing and became a race fan and always wanted to race here. So to win here would be really cool. I think this would probably be my favorite place to get a win at, just because of all of my friends and family here. And I think the victory lane's pretty neat on top of the building, and just the atmosphere of Bristol is so special, so cool. I think a lot of drivers, even if you're not from here, would love to win at this place. And it's a tough racetrack mentally, physically, on the cars, trying to take care of your equipment, strategy stuff, pit stops are really important. So a lot of things can go right or they can go wrong, and we're hoping that we're on the good side of that, and we can do what we need to do and earn ourselves a spot in the chase.
All right. Woody has a follow-up question. Then we're going to go Mark and Kenny. Go ahead, Woody.
Trevor, last week after the top 5 at Michigan, you mentioned how you guys pretty much have to throw Hail Marys now and try different things to try and get there. At a short track like this where, if you pit early or something like that, you're going to lose a lap. How does that change your thinking? I mean, obviously you still have to be aggressive, but what kinds of things can you try here?
Well, I mean, we're building up our confidence. If you watch Indy and see how that played out, it could have been a win there. Michigan, the same thing. A lot of people don't realize that we were good on fuel to the end there as well until the caution came out. It would have been a tough battle to hold off Truex. He was coming fast, but we had had a shot to do that. So Matt is doing really good at calling the races. We spend a lot of time talking about strategy. We feel like that's our strength, and we have to make the most of it. I don't feel like I have a car that has the raw speed to go out and beat some of those guys right now, so we have to do better at other things if we're going to win races. You watch, Austin Dillon's win at Charlotte this year and how they were able to do fuel strategy and win that race. That's the kind of stuff we have to be looking at, is how can we, stay out at the end, do fuel strategy runs, or even, like we did last weekend, if we can take 2 tires and we feel like we're close enough on speed to make that work, you just put yourself in position. Bristol is a place where the best car doesn't always win. Guys that have good strategy, get track position, have a good restart. We saw that kind of last year when I got my top 5 here. We just restarted on the top a lot, and I was able to pick people off, and that's what you do. If you're 6th on the last restart, you got a shot to win the race, and that's the position we have to put ourselves in. Yes, sir.
All right, Mark, go ahead.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Trevor, what is the frustration level in the fact that last year you didn't really have a whole lot of performances even through any kind of strategy where you could have won? This year you've had speed in the car several times where if things had maybe broke your way a little bit differently, you could have won. Yeah. So is it more aggravating, not having any chance at all, or is it more aggravating that, the brass rings, sometimes so close you can almost touch it?
Well, that's what I have to remind myself of. After Indy, I was really frustrated that it didn't play out the way I wanted it to, but then I had to remind myself, man, I could have just run 15th or 20th all day and never had a shot at it at all, and that wouldn't be any fun. So to me, it's much better to have an opportunity and it not go your way. At least you're there. At least you've got a shot at it than running 25th, 30th all day long, 2 laps down and not ever having a shot. It's way more fun to be in situations where if everything goes your way and you make the most of the opportunity, you can have a shot at it. Again, I feel like we have work to do to get our cars to where we can talk about wins week in, week out, top 5s, top 10s. Right now we're 15th to 20th place cars, I feel like, and that's an improvement. That's a good thing, but we still want to be where we're top 10 cars on our worst day, and then our best days are wins. And right now we have to hit everything right, and we've done that a couple times, and we just got to keep doing that. But it's fun to be in those opportunities. It's a lot better, even though it's tough. When you lose a race and you had a shot at it, man, it hurts because you don't get many shots at that. Indy, I've talked about it 4 times already, but how many chances do you have at Brickyard to win? And man, that was too close. It hurt. But, at least we had a shot. Same at Michigan. We're up there where we need to be, and we just got to keep putting ourselves in those situations.
All right, Kenny, go ahead.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Trevor, anytime a team expands, we hear the organization talk about we have access to more data now, everything's going to be better. And if we see teams contract, they go, oh, now we can focus on these teams, everything's going to be better. Roush Fenway, you guys, you've actually gone from 3 teams down to 2, and the Xfinity program has shrunk. How have those changes impacted Roush Fenway from where you sit?
Yeah, all these race teams have really good sales and marketing teams that give us really good messaging points. So whether we expand or contract, it's always good news, right? And but in all honesty, I feel like Ricky and I do really well working together as teammates. I feel like our crew chiefs do well together. Our whole organization is more streamlined, it's more focused, and that's due to a lot of changes, not just two teams. But this season, I feel like we've had growth, that we've performed better. Ricky's got 2 wins this year. Our Speedway program gave me shots to win. My car was really fast, and I feel like we're just executing better. We're able to focus on that. There's still areas we need to improve on that going to 2 cars doesn't fix, right? But what it does do is allow us to implement things a little bit quicker, get them in the cars. When you're doing 2 cars instead of 3 on Monday, if you come up with something that's the next latest, greatest thing, you got to have it by that weekend. And if you got 3 cars to do, it's a little bit tougher. But as far as data and all that, I mean, the more sometimes the better, but also that can be distracting. As a driver or crew chief, when you've got 5 setups to look at instead of 2, you can kind of get yourself off. And I feel like, each weekend, Ricky and I have kind of passed it back and forth on who's got the faster car in practice or qualifying or the race, and we keep pushing each other, and our teams keep pushing each other. But I like what I see at Roush Fenway Racing. We're making gains, not as quick as we want to, ever, but we're making gains, and that's hard to do in this sport. It's hard just to stay the same in this sport because everybody around you is getting better. So we're keeping up. I feel like our summer slump has been a little less than normal. I feel like we haven't gotten the results through circumstances, but we've maintained this year, and if we can make our normal off-season jump that we always make and then maintain again, eventually we're going to get to where we need to be.
Okay, one other thing for Monday, any plans to attend eclipse watching parties or anything?
I'll be in Knoxville, so I'm going to go put myself in the traffic and drive around with a Weldon helmet and see if I can't look at the sun a little bit. So that's what everybody says to do. I don't know how my retinas are going to like it, but man, I was expecting it to be like complete dark. You just look up at it, and everybody's like, no, you cannot stare at the sun. So yeah, get out a Weldon helmet, I guess. Yeah, same thing. Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Thank you, guys.
All right, well, we got one more over here in the blue.
Matt Corson with the RacingExperts.com. Entering Darlington hasn't been very kind to you the last couple of years. Can you just talk about your mindset entering Southern 500 race weekend?
Yeah, last year at Darlington was really tough. We lost an engine pretty early in the race, but I did learn a little bit during that race. We were running around on 7 cylinders, and I started that run right with the 48. And he ran away from me, obviously, when I was on 7 cylinders. But at the end of the run, we actually caught him back and passed him on 7. And I realized how important tire management is there. Not that I didn't already know that, but the fact that we could catch a car as fast as a 48 on 7 cylinders it blew my mind. So going to Darlington this time, we're obviously really trying to implement that, backing up my corners, making sure that I get to the gas early, saving tires, working on stuff like that. But Darlington's not typically one you can save fuel at because tires are so important. So we got to get our cars faster. We just got to work on it. I love running the top at racetracks. I like doing that here at Bristol, Homestead, the old Texas, Vegas, California, places you can run the top. So I would think Darlington would be a strong suit for us, but it just hasn't played out. So we need to buckle down and figure out how to get a good result there.
All right, Trevor, thank you for your time. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you all.